At 11:43 on a Friday night, with rain hitting my windows like thrown gravel, my ex-fiancee's little sister stood on my porch wearing a black dress, ruined heels, and the kind of expression that makes a man forget every sensible rule he ever made. I opened the door and said the dumbest possible thing. "Megan?" She looked me over, rain dripping from her dark hair onto her collarbone, and gave me a tired half smile. "Good. You still remember my name. I was worried the breakup came with full family amnesia." That was Megan Ellis for you. Soaked to the bone, shivering, clearly in trouble, still landing a clean shot. My name is Ben Carter. I was 34 years old, a residential contractor in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I had spent the last year rebuilding kitchens, fixing porch rails, and convincing myself I had rebuilt my life too. The truth was less impressive. A year earlier, I had been engaged to Ashley Ellis, Megan's older sister. Ashley was polished, ambitious, beautiful in a way that made strangers hold doors too long. For a while, I thought that meant we fit. Then I realized I was less a fiancé and more a renovation project she kept trying to finish. Stand straighter, Ben. Talk more at my father's dinners, Ben. Don't wear work boots to brunch, Ben. By the time we ended it, I felt like a house stripped down to studs. Megan had been the only person in that family who ever looked at me like I was already enough, which was exactly why I had avoided her after the breakup. Because even before Ashley gave the ring back, there had been moments with Megan that were dangerous in quiet ways. A shared laugh in the kitchen while everyone else argued politics. Her hand brushing mine when she passed me a beer on her parents' dock. The night she found me hiding from an engagement party in the garage and said, you don't have to audition for people who already bought tickets." I had laughed then, but I had also remembered it. Now she was standing on my porch in a storm bad enough to knock branches into the street, and every old warning bell in my chest started ringing. "What happened?" I asked, stepping aside. "Come in." She hesitated at the threshold. Lightning flashed behind her, outlining her in silver. For one ridiculous second, she looked less like someone escaping bad weather and more like someone the weather had delivered. "My car's in a ditch about half a mile back," she said. "Not badly. I mean, badly enough that it is currently trying to become part of a drainage canal, but I'm fine." "You drove in this?" "I didn't schedule the thunderstorm, Ben." "No, but you did apparently challenge it to a duel." Her mouth twitched. There it was, that old rhythm. Too easy, too fast. I took her overnight bag from her hand and our fingers touched. She was freezing. "Megan, I know," she said softly. "I should have called someone else." I shut the door behind her and the house went quiet except for rain and wind and the faint hum of the refrigerator trying to survive the flickering power. "You called me?" "No." She looked down. "I drove here." That hit differently. My house sat at the end of a narrow road lined with loblolly pines and old mailboxes. Nobody ended up here by accident, especially not Megan Ellis, especially not at midnight in a storm. I grabbed a towel from the laundry room and handed it to her. "You're shaking." "I'm mad," she said, wrapping it around her shoulders. "At the weather?" "At myself." That answer stopped me. She glanced around my living room. I had cleaned earlier, thank God, but it was still unmistakably mine. Work boots by the door, a stack of lumber samples on the coffee table, a half-finished sketch of a screened porch beside my reading glasses. No throw pillows arranged for emotional intimidation. Megan took it all in and smiled faintly. "What?" I asked. "Nothing. Your house looks like you." "Is that a compliment?" "It means I don't feel like I need permission to breathe." The room changed a little when she said that. I looked away first. "Bathroom's down the hall," I said. "There are dry clothes in the guest room closet. Sweatpants, old t-shirts, not glamorous." I just slid off the road in a cocktail dress. Glamour has left the building. She started down the hall, then paused and looked back. "Ben?" "Yeah?" "I'm sorry to show up like this." I wanted to say it was fine, automatic, polite, but the rain hammered the roof and her mascara was smudged under one eye and there was something too careful in her voice. So I said, "I'm not." Her lips parted just slightly. Then the power went out. The whole house dropped into black. Megan made a small sound, not quite fear, not quite surprise, and I moved before thinking. "Stay still," I said. "Coffee table's right in front of you." "I remember," she said in the dark. "You built it." "You remember my coffee table?" "I remember a lot of things I probably shouldn't." The storm filled the silence after that. I found the flashlight in the kitchen drawer and clicked it on. The beam landed on her face, softer now in the shadows. Wet hair clung to her cheeks. She looked tired, stubborn, beautiful, and far too close to being someone I wanted to touch. I cleared my throat. "Go change. I'll check the weather and see if the roads are passable." "They're not." "You don't know that." I passed 2 flooded intersections, a fallen pine, and one very judgmental possum. "I know." Despite myself, I laughed. Her smile came easier this time, but it faded almost as quickly. "I was at Ashley's," she said. There it was, the name neither of us had spoken. My ex-fiancée, Megan's sister, the woman who still sent Christmas cards to my mother like nothing awkward had ever happened. I kept my voice even. "Is she okay?" Megan looked at me in a way I couldn't read. "She's engaged again." I felt that land, but not the way I expected. No heartbreak, no jealousy, just a strange, dull confirmation that something truly was over. "Oh," I said. "Yeah. Is that why you left?" Megan tightened the towel around herself. "Partly." "And the other part?" She swallowed. For once, she didn't have a joke ready. "I need dry clothes first." I nodded because pushing her would have been cruel, and because I needed a second to remember she was not mine to ask those questions of. While she changed, I checked my phone. One bar. Flash flood warning, wind advisory, road closures popping up along the coast. I texted a tow driver I knew, but the message didn't send. Then I stood in the kitchen with a flashlight, 2 candles, and a heart acting like it had no respect for history. When Megan came back, she was wearing my old gray sweatshirt and a pair of drawstring pants rolled at the ankles. The sweatshirt had my company logo on it, Carter Custom Homes, faded from too many washes. Seeing her in my clothes did something unfair to my breathing. She noticed. Of course she noticed. Megan leaned one shoulder against the doorway. "You look concerned." "I'm trying not to be a bad person." "That sounds exhausting." "You have no idea." Her eyes held mine a beat too long. Then she walked into the kitchen barefoot, carrying her wet dress folded over one arm. "Do you have tea?" "I have coffee, beer, and the emergency hot chocolate my niece left here last winter." "Hot chocolate," she said. "Obviously." "Obviously." I warmed milk on the gas stove and she sat at the small kitchen table while thunder rolled over the roof. Candlelight softened the sharp edges of the night. It should have felt awkward. It should have felt forbidden. Instead, it felt like the first quiet room either of us had been in for a long time. I set the mug in front of her. She wrapped both hands around it and looked up. "You always did this." "What?" "Made people feel safe without making a production out of it." I leaned back against the counter. "Careful, that almost sounded sincere." "It was, don't ruin it." We both smiled, but hers trembled at the edges. "What happened at Ashley's?" I asked. Megan stared into the mug. She made a toast. To her engagement? To second chances. Her laugh was small and humorless. Then she looked right at me and said, "Some people only chase what belongs to someone else." The kitchen went still. I understood too quickly. "She meant me," I said. Megan didn't answer. She didn't have to. Rain slid down the windows in silver sheets. Somewhere outside, a branch cracked. I kept my voice low. "Did you?" Her eyes lifted. "Did I what?" "Chase what belonged to someone else?" For a moment, she looked like she might deny it, like she might laugh, roll her eyes, call me full of myself. Instead, she said, "No." Something in my chest loosened. Then she added, "I stayed away from what I wanted." That was the first time the storm outside felt less dangerous than the one inside my house. I didn't move. Neither did she. The candle between us flickered, throwing gold across her face, and every reason I had kept my distance lined up in my head like responsible little soldiers. She was my ex's sister. Her family already thought the worst. She had just come from a fight. She was vulnerable. I was lonely, all true. None of it changed the way she was looking at me. I forced myself to stand straight. You can stay until the storm passes. Her expression shifted, just a little. Guarded, challenging. I'll take the couch, I said. You can have my me room. Megan set down the mug, slowly, deliberately. Then she looked me right in the eye and said, I'm not taking the couch. I stared at Megan across my candlelit kitchen like a man who had just been handed a lit match in a room full of gasoline. You're not taking the couch, I repeated. That's what I said. Okay. Okay? I'm giving myself time to locate the trap. Her lips curved. There's no trap. Megan, in my experience, when a beautiful woman in my sweatshirt says something like that at midnight during a power outage, there is absolutely a trap. Her smile softened, but her eyes didn't look away from mine. You think I'm beautiful? I had built houses from the foundation up. I had negotiated with inspectors, calmed furious clients, and once talked a drunk man out of trying to fix his own roof with a leaf blower. None of that prepared me for Megan Ellis asking me that question in my kitchen. I rubbed a hand over my jaw. That is not the point. It's my favorite point so far. You know you are. I know people say things. I don't know what you think. I should have dodged it. I should have said something harmless. Something brotherly, which was impossible because I had never once felt brotherly toward Megan, not even when I was engaged to her sister. So I told the truth. I think you're beautiful. The air between us changed. Not dramatically, not like a movie where the music swells and someone drops a wine glass. It changed like a lock turning. Megan's fingers tightened around her mug. Thank you. You're welcome. And for the record, she said, voice lower now, I meant you shouldn't take the couch either. My pulse kicked once, hard. Oh, it's hard. No, her brows lifted. That was fast. That was necessary. Because of Ashley? Partly. Because you think I don't know what I'm doing? Because I'm trying very hard to be decent. Megan stood, slowly enough that I could have stopped watching her. I didn't. The candlelight caught the damp ends of her hair, the oversized sweatshirt hanging off one shoulder, the bare arch of her foot against my kitchen floor. She walked toward me until there was only the width of a floorboard between us. You were always decent, Ben, she said. That was half the problem. I looked down at her. What was the other half? You never looked at me unless you thought no one could see. That hit too close. I tried to step back, but the counter was behind me. Megan? No, let me say it once. Her voice trembled, but she didn't retreat. I'm not drunk. I'm not confused. I didn't come here because I crashed near your house by accident. I came because Ashley announced her engagement and then spent the night making me feel like some dirty little secret for feelings I never acted on. Her eyes shone. I have spent a year telling myself I was loyal because I stayed away from you, but tonight I realized I wasn't just being loyal. I was being punished for wanting something before I ever touched it. I forgot how to breathe for a second. The rain battered the windows. Thunder rolled, distant now, more tired than angry. I reached for her, then stopped with my hand halfway between us. Can I? Megan looked at my hand, then at me. Yes? I touched her cheek. That was all. Just my palm against her skin, my thumb near the corner of her mouth. But her eyes closed like she'd been holding herself together with wire, and I had finally found the bend. She leaned into my hand. Every sensible thought I had went quiet. I thought about you, I said. Her eyes opened. I hadn't planned to say it, but once I started, I couldn't stop. After the breakup, before it, if I'm being honest, which makes me feel like hell. I thought about your laugh, the way you'd say exactly what everyone else was too polite to say, how you could walk into a room full of people trying to impress each other and make it feel human again. Megan swallowed. Ben, I stayed away because I didn't trust myself to want you the right way. What's the right way? The way that doesn't use you to prove I'm over your sister. The way that doesn't hide you. The way that doesn't turn you into a mistake we blame on weather and old feelings. Her breath shook. Then don't, she whispered. I wanted to kiss her so badly my whole body hurt with it. Instead, I dropped my hand and stepped sideways, putting air between us before I forgot the difference between restraint and cowardice. Megan blinked, then gave a small, disbelieving laugh. Did you just noble your way out of touching me? I'm hanging on by a thread. Don't mock the thread. Poor thread. Megan? What? You can have my room. I'll take the recliner. That thing by the window, the one that looks like it has seen war? It's comfortable. It leans left. So do I, politically. We get along. A laugh escaped her, real this time, and it saved me. I gathered candles and led her down the hall. My bedroom was plain, dark wood bed frame, white sheets, a navy quilt folded at the foot. No framed photos, no memories on display. I had removed the last picture of Ashley months ago and never replaced it with anything. Megan stood in the doorway, taking it in. This is where you disappear to, she said. What? When family dinners got too much. When my dad asked about profit margins and Ashley corrected your grammar, and my mother asked if you'd considered whitening your teeth. I winced. I forgot about the teeth. I didn't. She looked at me. You would get this quiet look, like you'd left the room without moving. I set the candle on the dresser. You noticed too much. I noticed you. The words landed gently, but they landed deep. I turned down the quilt, needing something to do with my hands. There are extra blankets in the chest. Phone charger by the lamp, though power's out. Bathroom's yours if you wanted a shower, but the water heater may not. Ben? I stopped. She was closer again. Not as close as the kitchen. Close enough. Stay for a minute. That was more dangerous than anything else she could have asked. Still, I sat on the edge of the bed. Megan sat beside me, leaving a careful few inches between us. The candle made shadows move along the walls. Outside, the storm softened into steady rain. For the record, she said, I don't want to be someone's revenge. You're not. I don't want to be a secret. You wouldn't be. I don't want you to wake up tomorrow and look at me like you regret being kind. I turned toward her. Megan, kindness is letting you in from the rain. This is not that. What is it? I looked at her mouth before I could stop myself. Her breath caught. This is me choosing not to kiss you until I can do it in daylight, I said. When you're not shaking from a fight and I'm not half out of my mind from seeing you in my clothes. Her smile was slow and devastating. You're half out of your mind? More than half now. She leaned her shoulder into mine. Not a kiss, not a surrender, a choice. I let myself lean back. For a few minutes, we sat there like that, shoulder to shoulder on my bed, saying nothing while the rain turned the world small around us. Then Megan slipped her hand into mine. I looked down. Her fingers were cold, but her grip was sure. I can wait for daylight, she said. I laced my fingers through hers. Good. She rested her head against my shoulder. But, for the record, I'm still not taking the couch. I laughed under my breath. No, I said, and brought her knuckles to my mouth, pressing one careful kiss there. You're not. I did not sleep in my bed. I also did not sleep much in the recliner. The storm spent the night dragging tree limbs across the roof and rattling the windows. Every time the house groaned, I pictured Megan in the next room, wrapped in my quilt, her hand still warm in my memory. At some point near dawn, the rain softened to a whisper. Then I smelled coffee. I opened one eye. The power was back. Pale gray light pushed through the living room curtains, and my left shoulder had gone numb from the recliner's betrayal. In the kitchen, Megan was humming. That sound did something dangerous to me. It made the house feel less like a place I lived, and more like a place someone might come home to. I stood, rolled my shoulder, and found her barefoot at the stove wearing my sweatshirt again. her hair piled messily on top of her head. She had located my coffee, my skillet, and apparently my emergency pancake mix. She glanced over as I entered. "Good morning, noble thread." I leaned against the doorway. "You're cooking?" "I'm thanking you." "With pancakes?" "Unless you'd prefer an interpretive dance, but I warn you my ankle is still mad about the ditch." I looked down. "You hurt your ankle?" "A little twist, don't make that face." "What face?" "The one where you mentally build me a ramp and call 3 specialists." "I know a guy for ramps." "I'm sure you do." She poured batter into the skillet and I moved closer before I remembered I was supposed to be careful. The kitchen was brighter now, ordinary in daylight, which somehow made her being there more intimate. No storm hiding us, no candlelight excuse, just Megan, in my kitchen, making breakfast like she belonged. She held out a spatula. "Flip, you started this. And now I'm delegating." Very leadership-oriented. I took the spatula, our hands brushing. We both noticed. Megan didn't pull away right away. Neither did I. Her eyes lifted to mine and last night came rushing back. Her voice saying, I stayed away from what I wanted, my mouth against her knuckles, the promise of daylight. The pancake started to smoke. She looked down. "Ben." "Right." I flipped it badly, half folded over itself. Megan inspected it. Bold, rustic, emotionally complicated. "That pancake has been through a lot." "So have you." The joke faded gently. I turned off the burner and set the spatula down. Outside, water dripped from the gutters. Somewhere down the road, a chainsaw started. The world was waking up and expecting us to behave. Megan faced me. "It's daylight." I smiled despite the way my heart was trying to break out of my chest. "I noticed, and I'm not shaking from a fight." "No? And you're still looking at me like that." "How am I looking at you?" "Like you're trying to memorize me and talk yourself out of it at the same time." I stepped closer. "I'm done talking myself out of it." Her lips parted. I lifted my hand slowly, giving her every chance to move away. She didn't. She rose slightly on her toes before I even touched her, impatient and brave and so completely Megan that I almost laughed. Then I kissed her. Not careful like her knuckles. Not accidental. A real kiss. Her hands went to my chest, fingers curling in my t-shirt, and I felt the small sound she made more than heard it. I kept one hand at her waist, the other against her jaw, and kissed her like I had spent a year being sensible and had finally decided sense could go stand outside in the rain. She kissed me back like she had been waiting even longer. When we broke apart, her forehead rested against mine. The pancake smoke alarm chose that moment to scream. Megan burst out laughing. I reached up and hit the button with the practiced irritation of a man who cooked bacon too often. "That," she said, still breathless, "was either a warning or applause." "Definitely applause. For me. For both of us. Team effort." She smiled, and for a second there was no Ashley, no family history, no storm damage, no ditch, just her fingers still gripping my shirt like she wasn't ready to let me go. I covered one of her hands with mine. "I meant what I said last night. I won't hide you." Her smile faltered. "That may get ugly." "Probably. My family can turn brunch into a war crime." "I survived your mother's Easter seating chart." "Barely. You sat beside Uncle Pete and his ferret stories." "He was passionate. He had photos." I laughed, then sobered. "I'm not saying it'll be simple. I'm saying I want to try in a way that doesn't make you feel like a secret." Megan searched my face. "Try what?" There it was. The step I could avoid or the one I could take. I slid my hand from her waist to her back and drew her closer. "Us." Her expression went still, almost fragile. "Say that again," she whispered. "Us," I said. "If you want that." She looked down and for one terrible second I thought I had misread everything. Then she laughed once, shaky and bright. "Ben, I showed up at your house in a hurricane and refused the couch." Could have been about lumbar support? It was not about lumbar support. Good to clarify. She leaned in and kissed me this time, shorter, sweeter, with a smile against my mouth. I want us, she said. My phone buzzed on the counter. We ignored it. It buzzed again. Megan closed her eyes. If that's a tow truck, I respect his timing, but hate his soul. I glanced at the screen. Ashley. The name sat there between us like cold water. Megan saw it. Her hand slipped from my shirt, but I caught it before she could retreat completely. You don't have to answer, I said. I know. The phone stopped. Then Megan's phone, charging by the toaster, lit up. Ashley again. Megan exhaled through her nose. She's probably realized I didn't go home. Do you want privacy? She shook her head. No, I'm tired of handling everyone alone. She answered on speaker before courage could change its mind. Megan, Ashley snapped, no greeting. Where are you? Megan's fingers tightened around mine. Safe. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're owed right now. A pause. Then Ashley's voice sharpened. Are you with Ben? The kitchen went utterly quiet. Megan looked at me, not asking permission, offering me a place beside her. I nodded once. She lifted her chin. Yes. Ashley laughed, disbelieving and cruel. Wow, you couldn't even wait until after my engagement weekend? I felt Megan flinch, and every protective instinct in me surged, but this wasn't mine to bulldoze. Megan spoke first. I waited for years, Ash. I waited through your engagement, your breakup, your new fiancé, and every little comment you made to make sure I knew my place. Megan, no, I didn't betray you. I stayed away from him when you were together. I stayed away after because I didn't want to hurt you. But you don't get to use my restraint as proof I'm guilty. Silence. I had never been prouder of anyone in my life. Ashley said, colder now, Ben, are you there? I looked at Megan. She nodded. I'm here, I said. Of course you are. I care about your sister, I said. That's not an apology. Megan's eyes flashed to mine. Ashley sucked in a breath. You two deserve each other. The call ended. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then Megan set the phone down with careful precision. Her face was pale, but her eyes were dry. Well, she said, that was awful. I tugged her gently towards me. Come here. She came without hesitation, wrapping her arms around my waist and pressing her cheek to my chest. I held her, not as shelter from consequences, but as the man who had just chosen to stand in them with her. After a minute, she murmured, Your pancake is ruined. I'm aware. I'm still hungry. I kissed the top of her head. Then I'll make more. She tilted her face up. And after breakfast? I brushed my thumb over her cheek. After breakfast, we get your car. And after that? I kissed her softly because now I could. After that, I said, I take you on a real date. Megan smiled against my mouth. Good, she whispered, because I'm wearing your sweatshirt and I expect to be courted properly. By noon, Megan's car had been pulled from the ditch, dripping mud like it had lost an argument with the earth. The tow driver, a broad man named Vic, who had known me since I was 19, looked from Megan to me, then to my sweatshirt hanging off her shoulder. He grinned. I gave him cash and said, Not a word. Vic pocketed the money. I was born without words. Megan snorted. He's lying. Absolutely, Vic said, but I'm expensive, not reckless. Her car needed a new tire and probably an alignment, so Vic hauled it to his shop. That left Megan standing beside me on the wet shoulder of the road, the storm gone, the sky scrubbed clean, the whole world smelling. Like pine needles in flooded ditches. She looked at the muddy tracks her tires had carved into the grass. I really committed to that exit. You avoided a fallen branch. I also introduced my bumper to a culvert. Relationships are complicated. She looked up at me. Speaking of, my chest tightened. The call with Ashley still sat between us, not as a wall, but as a bruise. Megan had been quiet in the truck on the way over, her fingers laced with mine across the bench seat. Every few minutes, she'd squeeze like she was checking that I was still there. I squeezed back every time. Now she turned fully toward me. I meant what I said in your kitchen. So did I. I know, but saying yes to us when it's just pancakes and kissing is different from saying yes when my mother starts calling you a midlife crisis. I'm 34. She won't care. She rounds people emotionally. I laughed despite myself. Megan smiled. Then the smile faded. I don't want you dragged back into my family's mess. I stepped closer. Megan, I was engaged to your sister. I've already been to the center of the maze. There was a cheese plate and your father asking about my credit score. That was one time. It was during Grace. She covered her face, laughing. I forgot that. I didn't. Her hands dropped, and she looked at me with something soft and scared. I don't want to be another hard thing in your life. I took her hand. You're not hard. Her brows lifted. You know what I mean. I truly enjoy watching you panic. I'm serious. I threaded my fingers through hers. Hard was trying to become someone else so I could be loved. This, standing here with you, muddy shoes and family fallout and all, this feels like finally telling the truth. Her eyes shone in the bright after-storm light. Ben, she whispered. I brushed my thumb over her knuckles. You said you expected to be courted properly. I did. So let me. Right now? Right now? She looked down at her bare legs under my borrowed sweatshirt and rolled sweatpants. I'm dressed like a raccoon who made one bad decision. A beautiful raccoon. You really know how to make a woman swoon? I have layers. I drove her to a little seafood place on the water that had somehow survived the storm with power and an open sign. We sat outside because the sun had come out, and everything sparkled like the world was apologizing for last night. Megan ordered hush puppies and sweet tea. I ordered shrimp tacos. We shared both, because she stole one of my tacos and then informed me sharing was romantic. That's theft, I said. It's courtship. Keep up. Her foot brushed mine under the table. Maybe it was accidental. Then she did it again. Not accidental. I looked at her over the rim of my glass. You're trouble. I'm delightful. You drove into a ditch and hijacked my sweatshirt. And yet you invited me to lunch? What does that say about you? That I'm vulnerable to excellent cheekbones and poor boundaries. She laughed, and the sound opened something in me. This was what I'd wanted and not let myself imagine. Megan in daylight, teasing me across a table, wind lifting strands of hair around her face. Her knee occasionally bumping mine like a secret we were allowed to have. Except I didn't want secrets anymore. I reached across the table and took her hand. She glanced down, then back up. Public hand-holding? Reckless, I know. At least buy me dessert before you ruin my reputation. I planned to. Her smile went slow. Did you? Yes. What else did you plan? I held her gaze. To kiss you by the railing after lunch. Her cheeks turned pink. Megan Ellis, who could stare down her entire family, blushed because I told her I wanted to kiss her. I nearly forgot my own name. She leaned forward. That sounds like a strong plan. It has permits. Of course it does. After lunch, we walked along the dock. The river was high and brown from the storm, carrying leaves and broken twigs toward the inlet. Boats knocked softly against their slips. The air was warm enough that Megan pushed up the sleeves of my sweatshirt, revealing her slim wrists. At the end of the dock, she leaned against the railing. This almost feels normal. It can be. Can it? Stood beside her. Not easy, but normal, yes? She looked out at the water. Ashley texted me. My stomach dipped. When? During lunch, I didn't answer. What did she say? Megan handed me her phone. Ashley's message was short. You're humiliating yourself. And me. Anger moved through me, hot and immediate, but Megan was watching my face and I refused to let Ashley become the center of our first date. I gave the phone back. What do you want to do? Part of me wants to explain until she understands. And the other part? The other part is tired of begging people to believe I'm not awful. I turned toward her. Then don't beg. She swallowed. What if everyone thinks she's right? Then everyone is wrong. You make it sound simple. No, I make it sound survivable. Megan's eyes searched mine. I stepped closer, slowly, until the toes of my boots nearly touched her borrowed sneakers. I'm not choosing you because you're convenient. You're not. I'm not choosing you because you're easy. You're definitely not. Careful, I smiled. I'm choosing you because when I'm with you, I feel like the man I was before I started apologizing for taking up space. Her mouth trembled. And because you make terrible pancakes. One pancake, singular. And because you see me. She blinked fast, but a tear slipped free. I caught it with my thumb. I see you too, she said. Then she reached up, grabbed the front of my shirt, and pulled me down to her. The kiss by the railing did not go according to plan. It was better. Her mouth was warm and certain. Her hands fisted in my shirt. Her body pressed close enough that I could feel her heartbeat. I wrapped an arm around her waist and kissed her back with the kind of hunger that made people on nearby boats politely look elsewhere. When we finally separated, she rested her chin on my chest. Ben? Yeah? I'm scared. I held her tighter. Me too. But I don't want to run. Then we don't. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't look at it. Instead, she turned it off and slipped it into her pocket. Then she took my hand and smiled up at me. You promised dessert. I kissed her forehead. I did? And after dessert? I knew the answer mattered. Not because of Ashley, not because of her family, because Megan had spent too long being treated like love was something she had to earn quietly. After dessert, I said, I take you home. Her face changed. To my house, I clarified. If that's what you want. Not to hide, not because of the storm, because I want another morning with you in my kitchen. She let out a shaky breath. Then she smiled like sunlight coming through broken clouds. I want that, she said. So we got key lime pie, 2 forks, and no apologies. That second night, Megan did not take the couch. Neither did I. But we didn't rush into anything just because the storm had knocked down the old fences between us. We lay on top of my quilt in soft lamplight, fully dressed, her head on my shoulder and my hand tracing slow circles over her back. It felt more intimate than anything I could have imagined. Are you disappointed? She asked quietly. I looked down. That you're here? That we're being careful. I turned onto my side so I could see her face. Megan, I have wanted to kiss you in daylight, in public, over terrible pancakes, and at the end of a dock. I am not suffering. Her smile flickered. Smooth. I've been saving it up. For how long? I brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. Longer than I'm proud of. She caught my wrist and kissed my palm. For what it's worth, I don't think love always arrives politely. My chest tightened. Love. She heard herself say it. I saw it in the way her eyes widened, just slightly, like she had opened a door and wasn't sure if she should run through it or slam it shut. I didn't let her run. I'm not there because it's easy, I said. I'm there because it's true. Her breath caught. Ben? I love you, I said. And once the words were out, they felt less like a confession and more like finally setting down something heavy. I think some part of me started loving you when you found me hiding in that garage and told me I didn't have to audition for people who already bought tickets. Tears filled her eyes, but she laughed too. That was a good line. It was an excellent line. I was furious that night. At me? At everyone who made you look so small. I kissed her forehead. You never did. No, she whispered. I just wanted you to look at me. I'm looking now. She touched my face with trembling fingers. I love you too. The words settled over us softly, no thunder, no drama, no door slamming in the distance. Just the hum of the house, the clean smell after rain, and Megan looking at me like I was not a compromise or a scandal or a man left over from someone else's story, like I was hers. The next morning, we went to her apartment so she could get clothes. I waited by the door while she packed a small overnight bag that turned into a medium bag that turned into what she called a reasonable emotional support wardrobe. You know, I said, watching her stuff 3 sweaters into it, I do own a washing machine. And I respect that journey for you. I was laughing when someone knocked. Megan froze. She knew before she opened it. Ashley stood in the hallway wearing white linen, gold jewelry, and the expression of someone who had rehearsed on the drive over. Her eyes went from Megan to me. So it's true. Megan's shoulders tightened, but she didn't step behind me. I loved her for that. Yes, she said. Ashley's mouth twisted. Do you have any idea how humiliating this is? Megan took a breath. For you? He was my fiancé. And you ended it. That doesn't make him community property. I felt Megan flinch, and this time I did step forward, not in front of her, but beside her. She's not property, I said. Neither am I. Ashley looked at me like I had slapped her. Megan reached for my hand and held it in plain sight. Ash, she said, voice steadier now, I loved you enough to stay away from him when it mattered. I loved you enough to feel guilty for things I never did. But I'm not going to keep living like my feelings are an insult to your life. Ashley's face changed. For the first time, she looked less angry than wounded. You never told me? She said. You never would have heard me. The hallway went quiet. Ashley glanced down at our joined hands. Mom is going to lose her mind. Megan gave a watery laugh. Mom loses her mind when restaurants serve butter cold. Despite herself, Ashley almost smiled. Almost. I'm not okay with this, she said. Megan nodded. I know. But, Ashley swallowed, I don't get to approve your life. No, Megan said gently. You don't. Ashley looked at me then. Don't hurt her. I won't. You said that to me once. I accepted the hit because it was fair. I meant it then. I mean it more now because I know myself better. Ashley studied me, then turned back to her sister. I need time. Megan squeezed my hand. Take it. Ashley left without blessing us. But she left without breaking us too. 6 months later, Megan had her own key to my house and strong opinions about my throw pillow deficiency. By then, everyone knew. Her mother called it unexpected. Her father called it complicated. Uncle Pete apparently called it romantic as hell and mailed us a framed photo of his ferret wearing a tiny bow tie. Ashley didn't come around for a while. Then one Sunday, she showed up with a bottle of wine and an apology she delivered mostly to the floor. Megan cried. Ashley cried. I stood in the kitchen pretending to check the roast because some moments are not about the man in the room. By the following spring, the house at the end of the pine-lined road looked different. Megan planted herbs by the back steps. She hung blue curtains in the bedroom. She put one ridiculous yellow pillow on my couch and dared me to hate it. I did hate it. Then I missed it when she took it away to prove a point. 1 year after the storm, I built a screen porch off the back of the house. Megan said it was suspiciously proposal-shaped. She was right. I asked her at sunset during the first summer rain, with water tapping the roof and her bare feet tucked under her on the porch swing. I didn't make a speech about fate or storms or second chances. I just held out the ring and said, "You don't have to audition for me." Her eyes filled. Then she smiled, the same stubborn, bright, impossible smile she'd worn the night she refused my couch. Good, she said, because I was never taking the couch. She said yes. And when I kissed her, the rain came down soft around us, the porch lights glowing gold, her hand in my hair, my ring on her finger, and the yellow pillow sitting in the corner like it had won the whole argument. Maybe love doesn't always arrive clean and simple. Sometimes it shows up soaked on your porch near midnight, wearing ruined heels and carrying years of unsaid things. Sometimes it asks for shelter. Sometimes it refuses the couch. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to open the door, it stays. What would you have done if your ex's sister showed up at your door in the middle of a storm and told you she wasn't taking the couch? Have you ever experienced something that complicated and unexpected? Tell your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.